Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. The Judicial Conduct Tribunal is probing misconduct allegations against suspended Judge Tintswalo Nana Makhubele. Makhubele is facing allegations of breaching the separation of powers principle by allegedly being both a judge and chairperson of the Interim Board of the state-owned entity Prasa. Makhubele took up the latter post in the same month that she was recommended for the appointment to the bench by the Judicial Service Commission. While Makhubele has claimed that she was not a judge on the 1st of January 2018 because she had not taken the oath yet, the complainant in the matter, #UniteBehind, held a different view, prompting the tribunal to probe the question further. Canny Maphanga is following that story for us and joins us live with the very latest. Good afternoon, Canny. A very interesting day in court. Just talk us through those proceedings.
Well, good afternoon to you, Mfunda, and to the viewers at home. Essentially, what you're seeing is the next 3 days being allocated towards the Judicial Conduct Tribunal to actually complete its fact-finding mission. So what you are seeing taking place this week is that they'll be making closing arguments, that is looking at the evidence and presenting their submissions as to what inference could be drawn from that evidence that we've heard regarding the allegations or misconduct allegations that the suspended judge is facing. These are serious allegations being made against the judge, who is accused of holding dual positions, that of a judge on the bench and a chair of a state-owned entity. Of course, the conflict of interest would be glaring. The judiciary is to be independent, and then of course, once you're recommended for appointment, you're supposed to wind up your personal affairs so that you can assume those official duties. So we have those three parties making those submissions over the course of the next 3 days. Of course, the evidence leaders are pointing towards submitting that she should be found guilty of gross misconduct. Of course, UniteBehind, the complainant rather in the matter as well, is pushing for the same finding, stating that she's unfit to hold the office of a judge.
The question of when a judge becomes a judge has been a very critical one that must be settled. Just talk us through the arguments by Ms. Makhubele here, because she's saying she had not yet signed or taken her oath. So in that instance, she didn't believe that she was a judge at that point. Just talk us through this.
Well, this is going to be the central question probably in the report when it's made to the JSC, is when does a judge become a judge? Remember, if you look at the timeline, she had interviewed in October, was successful. Now, obviously, the understanding is always that with the High Court judges, at the very least, if the JSC recommends you, then you know that in the course of the next few months, it doesn't have an exact timeline, that the president will likely make that appointment on the advice of the JSC, should there not be any issues, because that process of nominating and going for that interview will come up with those skeletons if that candidate does have those skeletons to deal with in that particular process. But once the recommendation is made, you can expect that the president will act on that advice. However, in October of that same month, following her successful interview, she takes up this post, which is the post of the Interim Board of that state-owned entity. Then we get to November of 2017, then the former president, Jacob Zuma, then announces that appointment of Judge Makhubele along with others to assume office on the 1st of January 2018. Everybody else on that date reports to take their oath, which is really more of a procedural process so that you can assume office. And that date, we know that the suspended judge didn't take that oath, and only later on in the following year then assumed office. So UniteBehind is stating that once the president had made that appointment to assume office on the 1st of January 2018, she became a judge on the 1st of January 2018, and the procedure of taking an oath is just so that you can sit in hearings and make judgments and assume your official functions. But she became a judge as of 1st of January 2018, and they're advancing that argument to the Judicial Conduct Tribunal and stating that if that is the case, if that is the finding, then she would have occupied dual positions, which would have advanced their argument of the allegation of the separation of powers principle between the judiciary and the executive, and therefore they are pushing for that gross misconduct finding. And
should they find against her, what would be the sanction in this regard?
Well, the tribunal will have to first come up with a report in which they arrive to a conclusion regarding the allegations that have been made against the suspended judge. Then they'll give that report to the JSC, who will then make a finding. Of course, there are two possible scenarios. It could be a lesser finding, which could have less serious implications. But if it is a finding of gross misconduct, then we are now in the realm of impeachable conduct, meaning that it would then have to be referred to the National Assembly for a vote, like you've seen with the impeachment of Judge Mutata, the impeachment of Judge Sope, and it could result in her being removed from office if such a finding is made. However, we have seen from the past that the tribunal is a body. It's not a court of law, so those decisions or that report can be challenged in a court of law. We have seen such processes where the JSC's decisions are challenged, and it creates a delay in reaching finality on these cases which seek to hold judges accountable.
Canny, we trust you to keep us abreast of all developments there at the tribunal. That's reporter Canny Maphanga